Hi, my name is Josh, and welcome to Josh's Bookish Voyage. In Sean McGuire's newest entry into the Wayward Children series, we're introduced to a young girl who's trapped in a troubled home and who just wants to escape and find somewhere safe. And as with every child in every story before this, she has the opportunity to do so with a door. And engraved on that door are the words, "Be sure." This story is a door of its own, created by Sean McGuire to give us an entry into this world and the tribulations of this young girl. But as with every door, I urge you to be sure, because the cost of this door is a broken heart. So let me start by saying thank you to Macmillan Audio and NetGalley for allowing me to have an advanced audio copy of this audiobook to listen to. I regret not being able to get this up sooner. Unfortunately, that's just life. But I'll start by saying this book was extremely emotional. It is extremely heavy in its topics. It actually starts, I think for the first time that I can remember, with an explicit trigger warning for those who may have suffered from this type of thing in the past, or who just can't handle or not prepared to deal with this type of topic right now. And what's sad is the reality that these books are rarely happy endings. There's always something about it that is heartbreaking, and that is especially true here. So when we think about an audiobook, I want to start there. I think an audiobook plays a crucial role in how a story is told and how we as a reader or a listener absorb it. So I think the audiobook plays a really important part if you're choosing to read by audio. And I want to say this audiobook was done extremely well. The narrator, she is extremely talented. She does a really good job of distinctly doing different voices. I'm especially impressed with her ability to convey not just the voice of a child, which granted it's still just an adult doing a voice. It's the emotion, the raw innocence that she's able to convey in the way in which she speaks, in the way in which it's crafted into the words that Sean McGuire wrote, that just gives it such emotional weight. I very rarely cry, but in this book, I was crying, and it was sad. I was on my bike listening to the final part, and I was like, oh my God, this is where it's going. And I couldn't help but cry. And it was just, maybe it's because I've been away from my family for the holidays. I don't know. I just know this book was so sad. And I don't want to say it's my favorite in the series. I would say it definitely is a contender, but I need to reread the series and this book too to figure that out. But one thing I like about this book, well, it's a myriad of things I like about it. There's the emotional weight and the ability of Sean McGuire, the narrator, to make you feel really, or me at least, really connected to our main character. But there's also just the reality that this book is actually expanding the mythos of the Wayward Children series. I mean, we're getting a unique perspective for the first time, I think, of the way in which the doors work, because it's not this average story of you go through a door and you're in a new world. For her world is a door to a set of doors. And it's not a spoiler because the synopsis is about a girl who gives the opportunity to explore multiple worlds. In doing so, we get a better appreciation of how the doors work, how they are connected to our world, which I am assuming is the one that the Wayward Children series is set in, as well as other worlds, and just how they work and what they actually mean, and things that we haven't necessarily had a chance to see up to now. That mixed with the emotional weight made this book, oh my God, such a phenomenal read. It is the best thing I've read all year. I just realized it's the beginning of the year. I've read 3 books, but it's still an amazing book. It's one of the best books I've read in a long time. That's what I'm trying to say. It was a solid 5 stars, in case that's not obvious. And I'm just extremely satisfied. I should say I came to this book with extremely high expectations. I love the Wayward Children series. It's arguably my favorite series of all time. And on top of that, I love a good portal fantasy, one that's rich in a number of portal fantasies, not just a single door, which is what this usually gives us, but one where we have the opportunity to explore multiple worlds, which is what this gave us. I'm not going to get into the details of how deep it gets from those different worlds or how many worlds we get to explore. I just know that everything about this book that I had such high expectations for met my needs and my desires. I felt so engrossed in the story. I felt so emotionally connected to our main character. I heart broke for her so many times. I was angry for her. I was sad for her. And oh my God, I don't know about you, but I just want a book that can make me feel so many emotions all at once. And that's what Sean McGuire is really good at, especially in this series. And that's what makes this series, I think, so spectacular. It's that wonder and that childlike wonder that we get, the childlike perspective and wonder that we get from each story, mixed in with that sad reality that is adulthood and consequences and sacrifices that come with every decision. And it's just so heartbreaking while simultaneously being awe-inspiring and just so beautiful to read. So, big picture, should you read the story? I think so. You definitely don't need any background in any of the other stories. Granted, I think you should read the whole series, but as the context of the series goes, like I thought books 5 and 6 were fine, but probably the lowest in the series in my opinion. However, this is truly a contender for the best of the series, and even if you haven't liked the other ones or you've been unsure, I think this is one worth considering because I think it just takes a different perspective. It's the same basic premise, of course, but we're getting a new type of story, a new exploration, and it's just yet again the emotional weight is there, and that's what I want from a good Wayward Children series, is one that has that rich storytelling. From my understanding, is that the way she tells these stories is you have one that's set in like at a school, and there's one that focuses on the story of a child in a world. So it's alternating perspective where you get the integration of the children versus the independent stories. As much as I love the series as a whole and the fact that it's rooted in the Wayward Children series, which is a school for wayward children who basically got rejected from their worlds and now have to live with that reality, live that separation anxiety and this feeling of like, I belong here. This was my home. This was my true identity, and now I'm getting separated from it. That's what the Wayward Children is all about. But it's the stories where we get to appreciate the emotional journey of each person, each child, that I think is really the most satisfying and gripping. Which is why this year is it's just so especially good for that sake. I absolutely adored it. Cannot wait to reread it with the entire series. I feel like the last time I read it, I think it was 2021. So I think it's been a couple of years now, or been probably time for me to reread it again. No, it's been 2 years. 1 to 2, 2 to 3. So yeah, it was January 2021. So it's been a few years. It's time for me to reread the series. And I'm really excited to do it. I really hope you give this book a try. It is absolutely worth your time. I feel pretty confident it's going to be in my top 10 books of the end of the year, which is something that hasn't been the case for Wayward Children series in quite a while. Maybe not ever on my series. Oh, that's sad. Anyways, let's focus. This book was amazing. I hope you give it a shot. And as always, hope you all have a great day and stay safe. And I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.